Hello everyone and welcome back to FantasyFootballFix.com, the number one platform to help you build your team value, giving you the best chance of increasing your overall rank to help you win those all-important mini-leagues and gain the bragging rights over your closest rivals. My name's Eddie, or FPL Phillips, and tonight I'm bringing you the latest edition in Eddie versus the algorithm, which we always do the day before a deadline, a series in which I take on the computer each and every week, revealing the algorithm team first of all, seeing how many points they got the week before, and then putting together a team of my own to see if I can outscore the algorithm over the course of the season. Just a quick recap then on how the algorithm team did back in game week 22, and quite a very nice total for the algorithm considering it went without João Cancelo. De Gea in goal, managed to gaining 8 points despite not keeping a clean sheet over the game week, with some very impressive save totals from the Spaniard in goal. And Trent Alexander-Arnold proved why he's almost undroppable even in a double game week, and on the contrary, Marcus Alonso proved why perhaps even in the double game week you should not be going for him. Cucurella was a really neutral force in the middle, quite a decent points total for him, and he's looked very impressive in the bonus points tallies if you do delve deep into how they are scoring the Brighton defenders. But the key was really in midfield, with Bruno Fernandes picking up a huge 23-point haul in this game week for him. Tielemans with 2 and Maddison with 8 were disappointing totals, but of course its algorithm team was unfortunately put together a couple of days before we found out that the Leicester game was going to be postponed against Burnley. Mason Mount was also rather disappointing, but Bruno was the one who just overshadowed all of them with some magnificent points totals in that game where Ronaldo was out against Aston Villa. Specifically was where Bruno picked up a lot of his points. 2 assists, of course, in the game against Brentford as well, when Ronaldo did actually feature after coming back from that injury problem that he was suffering from, but it wasn't enough for Ronaldo to earn a decent points total, with only a blank in the second game against Brentford, despite United picking up 3 goals and an early substitution for the number 7. So Ronaldo, with only 2 points on the captaincy, was really the only letdown in the algorithm side, with Harry Kane picking up an 11-point total for the other premium forward in the algorithm team, picking up a goal and an assist in that game against Leicester, with the assist being for that very, very late Bergwijn winner, which was a very impressive comeback from Spurs. And then the Watford forwards in general just disappointed this week. The algorithm went for Josh King, 2 points only for him, but it was the same for Emmanuel Dennis, either way you went. And in the end, the changes I attempted to make to the algorithm team also did not pay off, with Bruno Fernandes being the one who left the side, ironically, as the biggest point scorer of the game week by quite some margin. In came Diogo Jota, who didn't manage to return any points at all in Liverpool's 3-0 win over Brentford, and Lucas Moura as a Son replacement didn't work out too well either, perhaps going for the wrong Spurs winner, with Bergwijn picking up that late brace for Spurs. Elsewhere, Dennis coming in for King really made no difference at all, and I stuck with a backline that did seem quite solid, apart from Marcus Alonso, who only managed to pick up 2 points despite having those 2 games. So yeah, that is enough to write off me for this game week, and the algorithm picking up a victory to make it 12-all in the series so far as we move into game week 23. Of course, that's been draw, so that's why it adds up to 24. So moving into game week 23, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Let's have a look at the algorithm 11 for this coming game week. So I will stop keeping you waiting then. The algorithm 11 for game week 23. Let's get into it and see who's between the sticks for the algorithm this week. It is going to be Jose Sarr of Wolverhampton Wanderers in what seems a very wise pick to go for. Wolverhampton Wanderers boast some of the best statistics in the league for expected goals conceded and expected clean sheets, and so it seems a no-brainer when they're facing a Brentford side who've struggled for goals as of late to pick up the Portuguese man who's looked absolutely one of their most impressive players so far this season, and if not the signing, one of the signings of the season for sure, has gone under the radar a lot in my opinion, but is starting to get the recognition that he does perhaps deserve. His save statistics are also up there in terms of very, very high in the rankings, and going for him seems a no-brainer in this game week when there aren't too many keepers who have the best fixtures, and there are other teams who have more strong outfield players that you want to target perhaps in double or triple ups. Speaking of double ups, if we move into defense, we can see that the algorithm has actually gone for a double up of its own, adding 8 Nuri to the Wolverhampton Wanderers collection. And 8 Nuri just returning now recently, taking up that left-hand side on the Wolves defence, is only priced down at 4.3 million in FPL, so a very, very cheap price for someone who's only under 1% ownership. So 0.6% ownership, I think it was last time I checked, which is ridiculously low, right? That's less than a 1 in 100 people own this man in their teams. And that's such a low price when you could downgrade from anyone towards him, really. If you're looking to offload a Chelsea defender and you're willing to take 8 Nuri on despite perhaps not the best fixtures for Wolverhampton Wanderers in the hope they can keep up their clean sheet span, then going for 8 Nuri not only provides that clean sheet potential, but also some great chance for attacking returns. He managed 2 assists in that game week 22 fixture, and if he can keep that up, then he certainly looks like such a great asset, and we've seen that in the previous seasons from him. He's come in and he could be such a formidable force, even from set pieces at times, which you know Wolves are very good at, as we've seen with Connor Cody, etc. in the last few weeks. Kieran Tierney also makes it into this side, facing Burnley at home with Arsenal, and of course, Burnley have been getting games called off left, right and centre over the last couple of weeks. It seems 5 games in hand now for the Clarets, so perhaps this one could have a small chance of getting postponed as well. So it's always good to have some cover on the bench if you are with your Arsenal assets still, as I am in my own personal side. But Tierney does look very good going forward. He gets a lot of shots off in games. He's not afraid of having a go from a decent distance as well, and he has been getting those returns ticking over when Arsenal have actually managed to play a game in recent weeks. Perhaps being forgotten a little bit here and there. I've still got him on my personal side, and I'm more than happy to see him popping up in this algorithm team. Cancelo and Trent Alexander-Arnold really are no-brainers at this point. It almost doesn't matter who they're playing, as we saw with Cancelo against Chelsea last week. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Cancelo facing Crystal Palace and Southampton respectively. It really seems almost a no-brainer to have them in your sides at this point, and if you don't, then your rank is probably going to suffer if they do indeed continue to return. But in midfield, which is probably going to be a bit more interesting this week, we do see some different players, with De Bruyne coming back into the algorithm 11, Rafinha there as well, Diogo Jota against Crystal Palace, and Saka against Burnley. So a double up on Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal in the midfield, combining with those defenders at the back. Haven't got the symmetry lined up quite brilliantly there. My OCD is going mental, not that I have it. Rafinha against Newcastle, a very nice pick. Of course, that game could get postponed. There is a risk of it, and Leeds do have the potential for a double game week, which still is yet to be announced. It's yet to be announced, which is rather disappointing. We could see double game weeks for Villa against Burnley or against Leeds, and I think the more likely one is to be Burnley. We're yet to see it announced at all, so there could not be one at all. But either way, Rafinha seems a very strong pick, facing a Newcastle side who've conceded goals left, right and centre over the course of this season, and Rafinha being Leeds' most formidable force on penalties, on set pieces. He just has to be the one you go for, despite the fact that Harrison picked up a hat-trick in Leeds' latest game. So yeah, De Bruyne, I think, will probably be a prime option for captaincy this week in the algorithm 11. Let's see what's going on up front, however. Maybe there's someone up there more exciting. It's Ronaldo and Dennis in the front too. So yeah, not the best looking assets, you'd have to say. Ronaldo seems to be a man, is it even possible to say, off form at the moment, not getting many returns, even when United are hitting big, with 3 goals against Brentford and Ronaldo involved in none of them. He has been struggling with a little bit of an injury, which did mean an early substitution for him, of course, but Dennis coming in alongside him against Norwich does look the more appealing option. But him and Josh King will once again be a debate for this week. On the bench, we can see for the algorithm, no one in goal: Gunnarsson, Martinelli, King and Alonso. So Alonso does actually give his place on the bench, perhaps anticipating maybe a decent predicted points total for him this week. Josh King there on the bench for some cover, as well as Martinelli, who completes an Arsenal triple up in the overall squad 15. So that makes an algorithm predicted points total of 63 so far this week for the algorithm. So not as high as last week's 101 that it was aiming for. Didn't manage to reach that, of course, but 63 points, still a very respectable total for what at right of now is a single game week. We could be seeing that in the future though. So whether I'm going to take a risk on a few double game week potential players, let's have a look and see which changes I'm going to be making to this team. So here are the changes I would make to the algorithm 11, and just to mention that the captaincy is back this week, and the captaincy is on Kevin De Bruyne. I did mention last week that the captaincy was on Ronaldo for both people, but the graphic is here now. The captaincy for both teams, the algorithm 11 and Eddie's 11, is on Kevin De Bruyne for this week, and of course that's factored into the predicted points totals, of which, speaking of Eddie's 11, it's 56 for this week compared to the algorithm's 63. And the changes that you may have spotted already: Ramsdale in goal in place of Sarr. I've doubled up on the Arsenal defence, and of course, because that game's a little bit at risk, I have brought in Ben Foster on the bench to cover him with that nice Norwich fixture. Of course, for Tierney, we've got cover on the bench with Aït-Nouri, who has dropped down, and then I've brought in Luca Dean of Aston Villa for a bit of cover, hopefully for those double game week fixtures. I'm really taking a gamble, going with a double up, in fact. As you can see in midfield, I've also brought in Philippe Coutinho and Phil Foden to complete my Manchester City triple up as well. So that completes the bulk of the changes. I've also put Anthony Elanga on third sub on the bench. So yeah, I think he could be a very, very nice looking punt. 4.8 million at the moment. Of course, he'll probably never get into this team unless there's a lot of postponements this week. He won't feature in this. But just one for the bottom of your benches, maybe, if you're looking for a midfielder under 5 million and he does continue to play for United, he could be a great shout, but he may well just be a stopgap until Rashford and Sancho are returning to full form, etc. But Rangnick seems to really have taken a liking to Elanga, and so that is why I've put him in here as a little bit of a punt and maybe a little hint of someone who could be a goldmine in the waiting. So that is going to round up Eddie versus the algorithm for game week 23. Let me know if you're team Eddie or team algorithm. Who do you think is going to win down below in the comments? And I wish you all the best of luck for game week 23. I will see you soon. Goodbye.